Special Counsel Jack Smith unveils revised indictment in 2020 election case. Special Counsel Jack Smith introduced a new twist to the 2020 election subversion case against former President Donald Trump with a revised indictment filed on Tuesday. This updated indictment aims to align with the U.S. Supreme Court's contentious immunity ruling and facilitate the progression of the case. The updated indictment has been condensed to 36 pages from the initial 45. Although the special counsel has retained all 4 charges against Trump, he was compelled by the conservative justices of the Supreme Court to alter the underlying allegations. Previously, the Republican presidential candidate had pleaded not guilty to charges related to his attempts to overturn the 2020 election results after his defeat by Joe Biden, which led to the January 6, 2021, riot at the U.S. Capitol. The new indictment was filed just weeks before voters start casting ballots for the 2024 presidential election, though a trial is not anticipated in the immediate future. Key updates from the new indictment and their implications. What's changed and why? The most notable change in the new indictment is the removal of the section concerning Trump's alleged attempts to exploit the Justice Department to support his re-election bid. Additionally, the revised indictment omits references to co-conspirator 4, who was mentioned nearly 30 times in the original indictment and identified by CNN as Jeffrey Clark. Clark, a Trump appointee at the Justice Department, supported Trump's false claims of voter fraud and his attempts to use federal law enforcement to overturn the election. Barbara McQuaid, a former prosecutor and professor at the University of Michigan Law School, commented, Smith removed the allegations related to Trump's use of the Justice Department to execute the scheme because the Supreme Court clarified that such acts were considered official and thus immune from prosecution. CNN legal analyst Eli Honig described the updated indictment as a strategic retreat by Jack Smith, focusing now on Trump's efforts to coerce state and local officials and to present fraudulent slates of electors. Steve Vladek, a CNN Supreme Court analyst and professor at Georgetown University Law Center, noted that the special counsel did not drop any charges, which suggests that prosecutors remain confident that the law covers the conduct they allege Trump engaged in leading up to and on January 6. Trump is still charged with unlawfully interfering with state election officials who certify their state's election results and obstructing Congress's certification of the Electoral College results on January 6. However, the new indictment emphasizes that the sitting president has no role in this process at either the state or federal level. The revised indictment specifies, the defendant had no official responsibilities related to any state's certification of the election results. For January 6, it clarifies that, the defendant had no official responsibilities related to the certification proceeding, but he had a personal interest as a candidate in being declared the election winner. Trump's 2020 election claims. A significant portion of the case revolves around Trump's statements, particularly his repeated, false assertions that the election was rigged and stolen from him. Both Democratic and Republican election officials, Trump's appointed attorney general, many of his advisors, and the nation's leading cybersecurity agency have confirmed the election's legitimacy and security. This revision by the prosecutors reflects a response to the Supreme Court's ruling, which discussed how presidents use social media and speeches for public communication but did not establish a strict rule for when such communications are considered personal conduct. The updated indictment notes, the defendant continued to make false claims with deliberate disregard for the truth, including through his Twitter account. It also mentions that while Trump sometimes used Twitter for official communications, he also frequently used it for personal reasons. The revised indictment, like the original, quotes Trump's inflammatory ellipse speech from the morning of January 6, where he urged supporters to march to the Capitol and fight like hell. However, in the new document, prosecutors describe the event as a campaign speech and a privately funded, privately organized political rally. Trump's role in post-election lawsuits. Another adjustment in the indictment concerns a lawsuit filed by Trump's 2020 campaign regarding the Georgia election results, which he narrowly lost. The original indictment described the lawsuit as filed in his name. The revised indictment specifies that it was filed in his capacity as a candidate for president, arguing that it was purely a campaign matter and not related to his presidential duties. Trump personally verified the lawsuit's accuracy, despite its inclusion of false election fraud allegations, according to the prosecutors. Alleged co-conspirator John Eastman, a right-wing lawyer who advised Trump on the lawsuit, reportedly informed Trump's team that the filing contained inaccurate information. Why is Mike Pence still in the indictment? The revised indictment responds to the Supreme Court's controversial ruling on July 1, which granted broad immunity to Trump. The 6-3 conservative majority decided that Trump's interactions with Justice Department officials were absolutely immune from prosecution. The president cannot be prosecuted for conduct within his exclusive constitutional authority, the Supreme Court stated. Trump is therefore absolutely immune from prosecution for the alleged conduct involving his discussions with Justice Department officials. Other actions, such as Trump's interactions with Vice President Mike Pence, were deemed, presumptively, immune, but the court suggested that lower courts need to determine if Smith can overcome this presumption and pursue the case. By retaining the section about Trump's interactions with Pence, Smith aims to advance this aspect of the case, hoping it will be upheld. The alleged conspiracy to coerce Pence into overturning the election remains a central part of the indictment and a significant aspect of the aftermath of the 2020 election. Prosecutors have reworked this section to emphasize that, in their view, it was an abuse of power unrelated to the constitutional role of the vice presidency and the lawful relationship between a president and vice president. McQuaid expressed some surprise at the continued inclusion of allegations related to Trump's pressure on Pence, noting, "The court said this conversation was at least presumptively immune, but that the prosecutor could challenge the presumption." It seems Smith believes he can challenge this presumption, possibly by framing Pence as acting in his legislative role as president of the Senate rather than his executive role as vice president. The Supreme Court left open the possibility that other actions by Trump, such as his interactions with state election officials, might still be subject to prosecution. The court did not resolve whether any of Trump's actions were indeed unofficial but left it to the trial court to decide. Unlike Trump's alleged interactions with the Justice Department, this alleged conduct cannot be neatly categorized as part of a specific presidential function, the court wrote. The necessary analysis is fact-specific, requiring assessment of numerous alleged interactions with various state officials and private individuals.